What's going on, you guys? I don't know if you can hear me yet. I have no clue. I should probably hook up this stream deck, but I don't think I'm going to do that right now. Actually, I might do that. Hold up. Probably a good thing I just go ahead and hook it up. Can you guys hear me? Do I sound clear? That's my next question. Do I sound clear? Good. So far, King is not here yet. So you're going to have to keep that in mind. I'm doing this by myself right now, waiting for King. He still ain't here yet. He'll be here momentarily. This stream deck's still not working. I don't know why. You guys have to give me a second. I have to look through this stuff and get some information. If the stream deck still won't work, you're just gonna have to deal with a messy looking Spoilercast. Because what I have to do is I have to manually switch stuff from the actual OBS itself. So, you know, it'll look a little bit less sloppy, but it's only when I switch to Google Hangouts or etc. etc. It won't be like the whole podcast or anything like that. Still waiting for King, by the way. He should be here soon. See if it works. Oh, it looks like everything's good now. Hold up, let's see if it actually switches back and forth like it's supposed to. Messy with the AVC. No, we ain't showing that, man. We're not gonna show that kind of messiness. Nova, if you want, man, do you want in this? Have you beat the game? Have you beat the game, my good sir? I'm gonna have to update this or something, because, like, this stream deck's just not working. It's definitely not working. I don't know what's up with that. I can't kick it in the face, man. I need it. I need it. The show starts in 4 minutes. So I'm assuming King's gonna pop in really at the last minute. I'd like to know why this stream deck's not working. I couldn't stand telling you that. Yeah, I do think Abby was the most memorable character in the game. It's just, it sucks how they built her. Oh, this is spoiler, by the way, just in case if I don't have to say that. I shouldn't have to say that, but you know how people are. This is definitely spoiler. Spoiler territory. I'm gonna have another one of these intros made for this. What's up, East Texas? What's up, East Texas? What's up, Neo Metal, Dizzy, Nova, Kairos Fall, 9 Lives, Dan? And you guys know I butcher names, so you know if you get your name butchered, you was warned the moment you came into the ILP because you knew I was doing this. So that's your warning. I'm still debating if I should do the intro. You guys think I should do the intro just for IOP's sake, man, to keep it original? Well, that's not really original. I mean, it's original to us, so that would make sense. You guys think I should do the intro? I think I should do the intro, man. We're used to it. I think I'm going to do the intro, man. I think I'm going to do the intro. For old time's sake, man. For old time's sake. King still not present. Yeah, every member in there, man. Put the shield down there, man. Put the shields down there. Let's get those shields, man. Let's get those shields. I don't know how many members is here, but let's get those shields down there. Represent. And where is King? Give King about another 5 minutes, then we're just gonna go live, man. We're gonna go live. Have King join in the process. That way I can get my bars off, and King don't have a whole lot of say in it. He's not here. He can't defend himself. And normally, you know, we're very strict on, not really strict, but it's like a playful thing where we do the, you know, you gotta have in color. You know, obviously, if you guys want to really have a, you know, topic that will break down, definitely put that in there. But I will periodically throughout the throughout this show, just going in there and reading some of what the chat has to say, because these aren't as formal as IOPs are. These are more just, you know, first off, I'm in charge of these. So there you go. and I will have to be using my phone because I only have one screen right now because my graphic card's messed up, and I'm scared to hook up multiple screens to it right now, so I'll have to be using my phone to get the chat. So you got to bear with me on that. We've delayed this twice. It was my fault both times. King was doing the King of Statues the second time. But, it was definitely my fault. My internet be messing up, man. I don't know what's up with it. It seems to be going good now. Whatever Infinity did, they definitely fixed some things on it. It sucks is when it comes to internet, you only got like one provider, 2 max, and most of the time the second one's trash, so you never use it. And they know what they're doing. Every provider came together years ago and decided how they're going to equally rob us blind. Give 3 more minutes, then we're gonna rock it without him for a little bit until he gets in here. King's excited though, man. He's definitely gonna be here. I just don't know when. How many here is gonna watch us react to the Xbox event, the 23rd? How many here is gonna watch us live react to that? I'm kind of curious. That's what's up, you guys. First off, I want to appreciate everyone that comes through. Me and Cognito originated this podcast. We wanted this to be something unique, something no one else is doing, and because of the generosity of our fans have done, we've been able to increase the performance, the quality of the channel. The intro, the green screens, us being on camera, all that came from you guys, and me particularly, and I know everyone appreciates it, but me particularly, I definitely appreciate everything that the community does for us.
Yep.
Oh, here's King. Hold up. Give me a second. You're kind of low.
You better be glad I didn't come in with my music.
All right, there we go. All right, they insist on us doing the intro, the intro for IOP. I don't know why they like that intro.
This is the jump off.
So I'm going to mute us, and we're gonna do this intro, and we'll be right back.
He better be glad I didn't come in with my normal music.
What's going on, you guys? Let me go ahead and turn we'll just go to the classic one. We don't need that extra stuff, do we, King? Not for this. All right. No. So obviously me and King are here. If you have been paying attention to the IOP, you know we have two entirely different perspectives in terms of The Last of Us 2. Well, I think it's technically pronounced Last of Us Part 2, isn't it?
Yeah,
So
part two.
Last of Us Part 2. So, you know, we've been doing these spoiler casts trying to get everyone, you know, to our more of our in-depth thoughts, because we can only go and do so much when we're doing these podcasts. We don't want to spoil anything. So here we are. We're doing another spoiler cast. This time it's with Lord Kingdavid. Say what's up, King.
What's going on? I don't think that y'all thought I would be on this side of right.
This side
But,
of right, is that what we're calling it?
exactly. It's the side of right because you're on the side of wrong. So
How? All right. So anyway, you know. So first thing, you know, I want to break into is I want to leave the story for Last King, because obviously that's the biggest thing that we'll be talking about.
So we're going to talk about character development.
Yeah, we'll talk about character development. We'll talk about, you know, exactly the characters they brought into the game, what happened during the game, and then we'll talk about the story as an overall concept.
Okay,
So first off, let's talk about the new characters. All right. So obviously they had, you know, Jacksonville is definitely one of the big things that they have in this game. They've clearly built this game around the city. Obviously,
yeah. It was how many years later? It was 4 years later.
Yeah,
or 7
4
years
years
later, right? Okay.
Yeah, so we got new characters. Now I want to really hone in on Jesse, because he's one of the main characters that comes with you. He's doing a lot of stuff with you. How did you feel about Jesse?
Well, the way Neil introduces Jesse, he introduces Jesse in a weird type of way, because at first you believe that he's just like the sergeant, you know, for, you know, their little militia, and then you realize that he is the former love interest of Dina.
I did like how
And
they kind of like breadcrumbed that. Like, you know,
yeah,
you kind of get that. And then they like throw the other breadcrumb, like, yo, not only is all this drama going on, but she pregnant. Like,
no, well, when we get to that part, we'll talk about that part when we get to Dina. But you know, continuing with Jesse, I felt that he had a tie to Ellie. Like it was kind of weird, because when Joel talks about Jesse later on,
it
when
always
they're on
makes it
that
seem
little
like he was trying to hook up with her, or she was trying to hook up
right,
with him.
and I think Dina was just a byproduct of Ellie never being interested in Jesse. You know, so that's why I think that the whole relationship, when they were done with it, he really didn't care that, you know, Ellie had kissed Dina at all, because you know that conversation that they're having in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
and they're walking, and you know he's like, yo, get dressed, because you know you're late because she overslept, and because he left the party a little bit earlier that evening when the altercation happened, and she was dancing, Ellie was dancing with Dina, which is, they have been broken up for a week, Jesse and Dina, right, at that period of time, right?
Yeah, it was a week.
You okay?
Yeah. Sorry, I forgot to put up my green screen.
Yeah, okay. So while Addict gets his green screen together so you can see his glorious beard, um, at that point they had already been broken up for like a week when this kiss happened. So this leads me to believe that their relationship wasn't all that as serious as anybody was making it out to be. So now I'm like, okay, with the breadcrumbs with Joel later on in the game, making it seem like Jesse had interest in her, and I believe Jesse did, and the fact that he like took Dina as a side project because Ellie was definitely had her interest lies in other people. Um, I think that was a interesting thing, because it showed why Jesse shows up later on in the game and why he decided to disobey orders. And it wasn't for the fact that he disobeyed orders for Dina. He disobeyed orders for Ellie.
You know what I particularly enjoyed about how they did the character development in this? You know, at the very beginning of the game, when you think you're hunting Tommy, and it's really you're right behind Jesse, because that's who you think
Yeah.
you at first. Like I love how the soldiers interact, because let's be real here, a lot of the people were trained by Tommy and Joel.
Right.
And they're more about, you know, guerrilla tactics. They're more about stealth kill move, stealth kill still. Okay, because
Right.
that's literally how you played in the first game. And I love when you're coming up on Tommy and you think it's Tommy, but it's really Jesse. They're like these people don't fight like normal people. Like it
Exactly.
gives you that hint of that, like Jacksonville teaches its people in a completely different way than they would. I think, you know, when we get on a little bit more on Abby here shortly, I would have preferred her style of gameplay to be completely nothing like Ellie, because she could still do the stealth stuff, but I kind of wanted her to be more of like, you know, brute force, guns blazing.
That's how I played with her.
I
But
actually play both stealth like.
so I didn't in I started to take on the persona of the characters as I played with them. Right. So when you looked at the three different militias, you had Jacksonville, you had the Wolves, and you had the Scars, right? And then you could
The
talk about
Scars definitely fought completely different than anyone
completely
else.
different, right? Because they always maintain high ground and they always maintain line of sight, and they use visual and audio cues to coordinate their attacks. Whereas you would say the Wolves use verbal, loud, and aggressive tactics, while Jacksonville used none of those tactics. It was completely stealth mode, completely like ninjas. Try not to be seen, try to use long
They pretty
distance combat, you
they
know.
pretty much
So
fought regular people how they fought the infected. Like
yes, exactly.
it,
So
so
what is your opinion on Jesse as a character and
I
the development of the character?
I like Jesse. I think the only real negative thing I could say about Jesse, and it's not even really negative on him, I just didn't really like how, you know, spoiler obviously, when he got capped, like no one even really acknowledges him after he died. Like Dina didn't say anything. It's like when he died, that's where his story ended. Like not he wasn't mentioned, he wasn't talked about after that. No one brought him up one time.
That's
It's
not true. That's not
Are you
true.
talking about when Dina said he would have made a good father?
No, well, you know, she referenced that part, but the family, Jesse's family, when they send the letter over, you know, to Dina, it's talking about, you know, to come to when they come to Jacksonville, the grandmother, and you know, they talked about little JJ and stuff like that. They referenced Jesse inside the letter, but you would ask two individuals that didn't have a love interest in Jesse, to be honest with you. I think Dina was finding herself, and she was just like a little bit loose. She was a little bit of loose cannon, so she was playing both sides of the fence.
And then you got to think, like, you know, they're post-apocalypse. There's probably not a whole lot to look around for them. You know, there's probably like
Exactly.
three people your age at that time.
So you know that happened with Jesse. So when he passed, yes, she cared for him, because remember, Dina cared for him when he showed up with the hurt injury, and he actually, you know, so showed some type of care to her. Is, you know, was she sick? What's going on? Was she infected? Because his concern was she infected? Then, you know, to come find out that she was infected with another disease. But but you
We
know,
ain't
at this,
talking about that. Okay.
come, daddy, do spoiler cast. Come, daddy. This is Coco. Coco, say hi. Coco always likes to be in daddy's bed. All right, Coco. You have to come down. Come down. All right, that's enough. Go play. Go
Now,
play.
you know, as far as Jesse, how did you feel about Dina? Did you feel like they built her up as a character to get with Ellie? Right?
I thought Dina was for the streets. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think Dina was she could flow either way. Um, Dina had a nice soul, and Dina wanted that home life type of things, you know, all the rat race and stuff like that. Dina wasn't about that. Dina was about, you know, free love, spirit. As you can see with the altercation that happened, and the words that she said to Ellie, as far as, you know, um, you're very dangerous. They should be very afraid of you, because you are the most dangerous person here, because, you know, they're looking at you, because I'm giving my attention to you. And she understood her sexuality in that whole moment. she knew that she was
Yeah,
probably one of
Ellie
the.
definitely didn't pick that up at all.
Oh
Like,
hell no,
not even remotely picked that up.
hell no.
Dana was pretty much like, let's leave, pretty much. Like, like she
Exactly.
would
Let's slide
literally
off
do.
out of here. And Ellie's like, because you got to also remember, Ellie was writing about her in her book.
Mm-hmm.
Ellie was loving this girl from a distance forever, since they've been there. So, the fact that that night was happening, that moment was happening, that situation was happening, it was mind blowing to Ellie. But Dina knew the level of her sexuality that she chose to give it to whoever, whenever, and however she wanted to. And she wasn't going to be like constrained by anybody's views of her. So when that part is going down, it's blowing Ellie's mind, but Dina knew what she was giving. She she really didn't care who was watching and what was going on at that period of time, because she's comfortable in her own sexuality. So I felt that her as a character, for Ellie's always being restrained and hidden, and Dean is out there and free.
I would agree with you on that. One of the best moments in the game to me was when it comes to Dina and Ellie, is when they're in that subway sewer
Mm-hmm.
and Ellie's mask breaks, and Dina literally about to take off her mask and get her killed.
And give it to her.
And
Yeah.
Ellie was like, no, like she was fighting her because she thought that Ellie didn't want her to sacrifice herself when she already thinks that, she thinks that I think I'm already dead, so I don't want her to die with it. And when she put her out, she's like, I'm not coughing. I was like, yo, I was like, that was a good character build right there.
Well, she tried to see when Ellie gave into her confidence, her hardest secret, her biggest secret, when she told her that she was bitten by an infected and she's immune, and she told
And
her
she
that
chemical
when,
burned it too. That was the funny part.
to hide it.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And then she put a tattoo on top of it. And you've seen the gradual growth of the tattoo from beginning to, from concept to art line to a line to fill in to complete tattoo by the end of the story, which I thought it was magnificent in the growth of the character. But you saw that how she was completely comfortable with her, and she gave her biggest secret. And Dina didn't believe it. Dina was like, man, shut the hell up. You're not immune. You'll die. And when she's breathing and she's noticing that she's not coughing and she's not dying, then she realizes she was telling the truth.
Yeah, and that was a crazy part because, at that time, it was kind of unclear if anyone knew that she was immune. They had
No one knew.
flashbacks. They had flashbacks showing Joe saying that, but they try to keep a lot of information on the down low up
Let me
until it
get that.
came up.
I'll be right back. Give me 5 seconds.
Okay, but what? It's like I said, you guys. Like, one of the biggest things I appreciate about this game is just the immersion and the world development. And obviously, I have my issues with the story, and that is for here. That's for you to understand. That's not for anyone to understand but me, to be honest with you. I understand some people love the story. Some people hate the story. I'm not. I don't think I hate it. But I do think it was poorly written, and it was maybe not even poorly written. Maybe the story was good. I just feel like they executed it wrong. Like, you take some of those scenarios and you flip them around, and you put some of the stuff that happened at the beginning in the middle, have the same conclusion, and I think it would have been way better. So
No. I disagree.
Let's just go ahead and get into it, because this is going to be the biggest. Okay, let's take it step by step and then talk the whole thing. Okay, Joe dying. What was the first thing that happened to you?
It was awesome.
It was awesome. Okay, explain yourself.
Yes. Because if you watch The Last of Us Part 1, you love Joe. He was this religious Christian man who goes the country with this child that's not his to get her to the Fireflies, even though he doesn't believe in them. He believes in this kid. And along the way, they see things and he starts to believe. And she's gonna cry because she's used to being with daddy. Anyway, so they get to the Fireflies, and during this whole time, Joel is screwing everybody over, in the name of Ellie. So let's not forget that, Joe was doing whatever he got to do for the love of this kid. All right. And I believe it's displaced love because his kid is dead.
Okay,
Right. So
now let me stop you real quick. All right,
go ahead.
as far as him screwing people over, 100% agree with you on that. Now, there's a
Hmm.
lot of people on YouTube and Twitter in general that don't particularly like the way that they brought out him, his past come. That's all this game really was. His past comeback came back and it got him,
Hmm.
and then you went back, and it's literally a cycle of hate. That's literally what Neil Druckmann said. She hated Joe for years. She killed Joe finally, and then Ellie hated her for years, and well, obviously we'll
Well,
get to that
okay.
later.
Back
But
back
hold up. But
back to the death
real quick,
though. Yeah.
just answer this real quick question. A lot of people don't like that it was the doctor from the first one that you killed that was her father. They felt like that character wasn't relevant enough to have all this happen.
Okay, and that is where the genius lies. That's where the genius of Neil Druckmann
Oh
lies.
God, can we please refrain to saying that is a whole lot?
No, because you have to understand something that you viewed as insignificant and minor. When you got a chance to see Abby's growing up, she loved her father. Her father was her everything. So why wouldn't this weak child, because at that point in time when Abby's growing up, she's weak. She doesn't have any muscles or anything like that. She's a nice young girl. And her father is a humanitarian. He shows you when he saves the zebra, he puts himself out there and he goes to see these animals and he's worrying about the humanitarian aspect of all of his work. And all of his work has something to do with saving mankind, even at the life of Ellie. And Ellie didn't care that her life would be forfeit because she was willing at that point. She had already given at that point. She already submitted to that point because she thought her life would mean something. That's where she's upset with Joel. But this insignificant character that you felt that was insignificant wasn't, because he meant everything to one person, his daughter. And all it takes is one person to feel excruciating loss. You don't know what the repercussions are. So that insignificant character that you killed lies repercussions. It's the basis of every karate movie ever told. You killed his master. That student that didn't know kung fu learned kung fu and came and killed you. This is the basis of every revenge film. Somebody that you overlooked or somebody that you thought was insignificant turned out to be your demise. That minor thing that you looked over. Not all the big guys that Joel screwed over, they didn't come. It was the girl that was weak that made herself completely strong. Because when they did show Abby for the first time, Abby was like Arnold Schwarzenegger's daughter. And over this time, she grew with that hate. She was like Venom. She grew with that hate to extract this vengeance that she had in her soul. Because she probably felt that her father didn't have to die. And Joe didn't have to kill him. Joe could have shot him in the leg.
One thing that I like how they showed like that world development is when he killed the doctor, it pretty much like it was like a domino effect.
Yep.
And what happened is it demoralized the Fireflies so much that they dissembled.
Yep.
And I do like instances like that. Just to me, King. Okay, now we're gonna move away from that.
Because wait,
Let's
because if you're talking about that part, right? You're talking about the father, and you got to say Marlene. Marlene was the Firefly's head, right? And you thought that Marlene would be the person that was holding everything together. When it seems like everybody, that the people that was holding the Fireflies together, that was giving them hope, was Abby's father.
All right, so we got a couple things that's going on in the chat. Just go ahead and ask. So someone did brought up a good point. That anger of her killing for her father. That's definitely something that makes sense. But someone did say in the chat that said, "How do you explain her Abby letting Ellie live multiple times after killing all of her friends?" And
Okay.
don't you think that's a little
So
inconsistency in
so
that character development?
no, let's get to it, right? If your single purpose is to get revenge, she was blinded by hate. She didn't care about everybody else like she cared about her father. Her father was the only thing that she had left, her beacon. Remember, Abby's a tragic character.
But
And as we talk about that character, we're going to get deeper into her psychosis. But the fact that she only wanted Joel, only
so
because
just
remember,
let
she didn't care if they killed Ellie. She didn't really care at that point in time because she was focused on Joel. Remember, it was Owen that stopped them from killing Tommy and stopped them from killing Ellie.
all
It
right.
was Owen.
What about the, Owen? That was someone that Abby extremely cared about. Abby put herself in, like literally. Abby almost went AWOL. Like she did go AWOL to save
She
him,
left. She left.
and
She
and
left to get him.
and
Yeah.
Ellie killed him, and she didn't. She didn't kill Ellie back. So like that's my thing. It's just like when you have that type of
What are you
hatred, that
talking
time
about for when
when she killed Owen and whatever.
okay. So okay. Now at that point in time when she was going to go kill Ellie and kill Dana, who stopped her?
I just feel like her friends
Who
try to
stopped her?
stop her from doing
No,
everything they did. Like they
no, because the person that stopped her was Yara. Yara stopped her at that point in time. Remember, she had sacrificed everything to save Yara's arm. So she's endearing herself and forming her own little group. Her own little group consisted of Yara and Liv.
okay.
And Liv at that time showed her how to overcome her fears. So they were growing as a team together and they were
So let
sacrificing themselves to get to save Yara.
let me ask you a question that
Go ahead.
people disagree with me with, and it's fine. It's that like one of the good things about Last of Us is they always put the interpretation of something up to you as the
Yeah,
player.
exactly.
I personally feel like after Abby got her rocks off and she killed Joe, that she started feeling remorse for killing Joe. Uh,
No.
I personally feel that's the reason she helped the two scars. And
Well,
people said, "Oh, it's because she saved her life." Like she's been literally hunting this group for her whole life, almost
no.
for like the
That's
past
not
3
why.
or 4 years. She's been hunting them, and now
That
all of a sudden she's just gonna save two random ones. And if you
no.
remember, every
That's
time
I'm gonna
they
tell you why.
ask her, well, let me finish my statement.
No, go for it.
Every time they ask her, "Yo, why you helping me?" she never answers them because she subconsciously doesn't want to admit that's the reason she's doing it. Like
Okay.
to me, I feel like if it was just because she saved them, that they saved her, she would answer that. You guys saved me. I got to return the favor. Every time they answer, she just walks around the question. She never comes out formally and says it.
All right. Now, partial. What you're saying is partial and is a small part. When they saw the level of hatred, and she didn't just kill Joe, right? She brutally beat him to death while her friends watched. Now, up until that point, you thought the wolves were heartless killing machines because of Isaac, because of Isaac's tactics. So Isaac's made them seem larger than what they were. He made them seem inhuman, right? So you felt that these characters were inhuman. You thought they were a military inhuman unit that just did. No, that's not the case. Abby's blinded by hate. Owen is trying to give some form of reason. That's why Tommy and Ellie's alive, because of Owen only. Her friends got a chance to see Abby's hate in full effect, and they're trying to figure out what's going on here. What are we doing here? They all start questioning, But at the same time, they all turn their back on Abby, because that's the same period of time where Owen breaks up with Abby. Abby loses all of her friends that moment Joel dies. So they're no longer the tight friend group. The only person that sticks around with Abby is Manny, because Manny's her roommate.
Yeah,
Now,
Manny was the ride and die, man.
yeah, see,
She was like, look, we ain't been to the basement. I can't tell you what that basement looking like. You can go down there, but we probably ain't going down there either. So you on your own if you go down there.
exactly. You understand? So Manny lived with her. Manny knows her nightmares and her troubles. She had PTSD when her father died. And that PTSD manifests itself in Ellie when she had to watch Joel die. And we'll get to that part of the story a little bit later. But see, to miscategorize that Abby had full control of the situation, she had no control of the situation. She went completely rogue and found Joel and Tommy randomly. Now, herein lies the rub. Joel was the instrument of his own demise at every turn. Had he did not save Abby, he doesn't die. Abby dies at the hands of the Horde, and life goes on. But we wouldn't have a story, right?
No game.
So you thought she would show some form of thankfulness. No, she was blinded by hate and wanted revenge. And she got her revenge.
All right, so let's move this a little bit over to Joel. That is
Right.
definitely one of the biggest key points, and probably my biggest issue with the game is how they handle Joel's demise. Now, first off, I'm pretty sure I know where you stand, but let's go ahead. You are for how he died, correct?
I loved it.
Okay, now you explain, and then I'll counter.
Okay. So the fact of the matter is, Joel is out there, they're on patrol, and they come across somebody fighting for their life for the Horde, and they save her. And they like, oh, you got an encampment over there? She's like, yeah, I can get us out of here. I have an encampment. She sets them up already. She knows, because once she finds out who she has to get into a position of power. So
Now,
she's no
do you
longer
think that was a little bit too what's the word I'm looking for?
serendipitous.
I don't even say necessarily like I felt like that was just too of
What
like a
conventional?
cop out. Like it's just like you so happen to come across the dude that you're looking for in this entire
Well,
region. Like
how are you gonna motivate the story? How are you gonna bring the story across? Because it's also showing Joel isn't that asshole that everybody wants him to be.
he just did
Because
everything he did to survive.
right, other people's interpretation of you will never always be the interpretation that you want to project. Right? Everybody's gonna have their own take on you. And Joe was at a peace part of his life. His character development
So
was done. He was never going to grow as a character from the point that where he was.
let's, and I definitely understand that. I want to get some of the members' comments. Neo Metal said Joe dying wasn't my issue. I'm with that. Move the story forward. Nothing made me like Abby. So I guess his point was he didn't mind how they killed Joe, but I guess he minded how they always try to pull out your heartstrings to like Abby more and more with the dog playing. Now,
Yeah.
do you see a little bit where he's coming from with that?
Okay, so let's take it to Abby as a child. Abby is the most tragic character in the game, right? And let me tell you, Abby doesn't ever find happiness. Every time she's about to find happiness, happiness is ripped away from Abby at every turn. Every turn. Let's go to her father.
Well, hold it just 5 seconds. Iron Mike said, "Why would the WALF send all of them out there anyway?" I don't think they knew that was even happening. Because if you notice
Yeah.
when they do the flashbacks to what happens in Seattle Day One on Abby, they never bring that up to their commander or anything. I think they went out there by themselves.
Yeah. Okay, so when they all left, remember they all took a conscious effort to leave. Remember, Abby was going to leave and they all decided to go with their friend. Remember, they're a unit at this time. They're all together at this time. Remember when they were fighting and they had made it back from the little encampment, and whatchamacallit went with her, the pregnant girl went with her.
Yes.
and they're trying to get back and all that. They have this love hate there because they were a tight unit team, and they broke up from that period of time. So you had to understand that they weren't really listening to Isaac. They were just there with Isaac, but they all had their own agendas. Owen wants to get out. Mel only wants to do whatever Owen wants to do, but she wants to be in the military
Yeah,
because
and
she's a
Owen
military
wanted to
girl.
be in the Fireflies. So
Exactly.
but they're no longer around, and he kept debating on himself because of his human attachments to that area if he should leave and go look for them or not.
And who was that human attachment?
Abby and Mel.
It wasn't Mel. Mel is a byproduct of Cuddles. All right.
Cuddles.
Yeah, Mel is a byproduct of Cuddle because when he's with Abby throughout her whole time. When she gains these muscles, when she wants to,
We got a super chat real quick.
Yeah.
So we got a $5 super chat from Everborn Saga. Abby is a tragic and very interesting character, but tried what she did to Joe. As much as I tried, I was never able to empathize with her.
I cried for Abby.
I actually liked Abby. Like by the end of that show, I liked Abby, but it was just like I did feel like they tried too much. Like I did feel like that. Like I understood Abby's motives without them trying to make me like put her on a human level. Like all you had to do was revenge story. I understand her motives. Like you didn't have to make me play with dog with her or have these moments with the.
You know, you didn't have to play with the dog, right?
Look, I played with the dog king. You're gonna stop.
And it made me like her more. So whereas you felt, oh, why they making me play with the dog with her? I was like, oh man, look at her. You know, but her playing with the dog was showing Liv that she didn't have to be afraid of the dog. The same way they drew out the story with her going across the bridge, going across these high situations where she was terrified. Remember, the only time she went up to a high situation is out of love for Joe. I mean, for Owen, when she jumped up when they was on the carousel and she jumped down for Owen.
Yeah, because she
did a lot of things out of love.
Dead. I get you there, but look, okay, let's roll back a little bit to super chats, and the members got us a little bit off track. Let's finish our Joel conversation. Okay, look,
Right.
My biggest issue is I didn't feel like they killed Joel like he
deserved.
I feel it's not even
go out like a superstar.
No, it's not even a superstar. Okay, not even a superstar. It was not even nothing like that. I just felt like, I like Vegeta. I see him on your screen. But anyway, that's besides the point. You know, I really did not appreciate the way that it felt like they killed him like he was a support character. Like I didn't feel like they didn't give him justice in the way his roles were in the first one. A lot of people like to say, okay, Joe's been there for 5 years. Joe's gotten soft. Joe's gotten this. Joe's gotten that. Joe was a smuggler for a long time and he never got soft. Like, I don't see him just being there for a couple years and he starts trusting people. I saw some people in the chat say he was openly willing to give his name to a bunch of random strangers that he just came across. What is your thing with that? Do you have any issues with that?
At this point in time, the character development of Joel is done. Joel has found home, right? Joel is he already brought into the whole Jackson camp. He already brought into that. Joel has his house. Joel makes little wood carvings. Joel plays his guitar. Joel took them up and he takes the best routes to overlook the city, to feel accomplished, to feel like he's done running. He's done. To be killed the same way. Well, he got killed very brutally. He got done in very brutally how Abby thought her father was murdered. And it was very insignificant because everybody felt that he already had his screen time. Enough of his screen time.
But I do, to me, King, just to me, I personally feel like they were more, you know, at the time we didn't know Abby was such a big part in this game. We'll get into that a little bit later. But to me, I feel like they were so dead eye on switching the narrative from Joel to Ellie, that they didn't care how they ended Joe's
They
story.
had
They just wanted it ended. And I
they
have a
had
problem
to,
with that. Like, I do feel like now, can we agree? I don't know if you're going to agree on this.
right?
There could have been a better way of doing this that
No,
got the same results.
no, because you have to give her PTSD. You have to have her watch his final moments. You have to have that scene that is so impactful that she comes in on a bloody, beat up, tore down Joe. Tommy has to watch as well. Tommy has to be there as well. Tommy's his brother. Tommy is there. These two individuals are there. And I'm pretty sure that you're going to get Tommy's story later because there's more to that on some DLC. But for Joel to die like that in a heap, in a bloody mess, that's Neil Druckmann's genius. That's him showing you
Man,
at
once
any
again,
moment.
man, we call this man a genius again.
I'm gonna tell him he's a genius because I mean you're gonna give credit where credit is due
So
because
Iron Mike said to you, he's a member. He said you can have all of that, but the lead up needs to make sense. So he feels like the lead up to Joe dying didn't make sense. It was needed
because you was comfortable at that point, right?
I don't know. That's a question to Iron Mike. To
No, I
me,
mean I'm asking Iron Mike.
okay.
I mean, were you comfortable? Because I was comfortable. My guard was down. My guard was down. All right, my guard was completely down. I said, no, there's no way that this girl is gonna do him dirty after he saved her life.
So
It's gonna
Rain4G
be
actually
something
brought up a
else.
point. He said, should Joe and Abby have squared up with Joe, and it would have Joe's death been more meaningful? I don't agree with that.
No.
And the reason I don't agree with that is I don't feel like you need to have Joe fight in a blaze of glory. I don't think he needs to die. How he died was okay. I just felt like there was no build up from the beginning of the game. I do feel like they didn't like up until you saw Joe. By the time Joe died, it was literally over in an instant. It's like
Okay.
you saw Joe, you ran with Joe, Joe was dead. Like,
All right.
and I do
Let's
feel like as a character that went through 15, 16 hours in the first one, that was a little bit less of a build up than I
he had his
anticipated.
story in the first one, but you're missing the biggest part. Him and Ellie wasn't on good terms. See, that's where you get all these flashbacks. That's when you started getting a story because Joe's story didn't end right there. Let's not act like he was murdered and you didn't see him again in the game. You saw
He
him
was
again in the
murdered and you
game.
didn't see him again in the game. All
You
right.
didn't see him again
You saw
live.
past versions of him, but you didn't see
It's-
him. Like he was dead.
And it was necessary to start telling it from a remembrance standpoint. You know, her last conversation with Joel before the
It was
brutal
actually
murdering.
pretty tearing up, man. It hit me a little bit, man. It was just
Right.
like, man, like because
That's the part where I cried.
when you see that happening at the end of the game, and like you know you see that Joe and Ellie were about to reconcile. They were about to get over their differences
Right.
sooner or later, but then the next day he dies.
Okay, so this is the thing. You don't have the time that you think you have. She always thought that, yeah, she got the time.
I
got the
think
time.
someone
like a regular teenager. I got the time.
Dan says they could have thrown that in there before the death or of their split. I think that was in there perfectly because they used that as a reason to why, you know, what happens at the end where, you know, Ellie doesn't kill Abby. I think that was the insinuative. It was like, look, I've been doing this for me. I haven't been doing this for Joe. Joe would not have wanted me to kill Abby. Joe wouldn't have wanted me to spend a second trying to revenge his death and putting my life on the line. And I believe that heartfully. From what he exampled,
But Tommy would.
She
She only left because of Tommy.
and I get that, but I feel like she left because she felt like she had unfinished business, and Tommy kept bringing it up, so she felt like she had to do it.
Tommy did that. Tommy guilted her into leaving because Tommy lost his relationship with Myra. Tommy lost his relationship with Myra because Tommy got shot in the head and should have died on that floor inside that playhouse. The fact that he was still alive, he had a bad leg, he had a wounded chest, he had a hole in his head. He was half the man that he was. He lost his relationship because he became bitter and filled with anger and rage, and his relationship with Myra definitely just went to the left. So he's there to guilt
pretty much
the
what you're
only
saying.
able-bodied person into going and seeking revenge, and she's suffering from PTSD from seeing exactly all the stuff that she did, and she never reconciled with Joel before it happened. That's why she's yelling,
That's probably
"Joel, get up."
so. What you're pretty much saying is Tommy got to the point where he lost everything. He lost his brother. He lost his wife. He lost everything in Jacksonville, and
Isn't
the
this
only
so
thing he had on
lost?
to was that plot of revenge. And he felt like until he did that, he couldn't have anything back.
Exactly.
And
Isn't
I
the whole
get that,
story
but
about loss?
I get that, but I do feel like Tommy might have pushed her, but she wanted to go that way anyway. It's just Tommy pushed her out the door to go that way.
You know why? You know the words that Tommy used. Oh, now you good. like you got what you want, you good. You know what I'm saying? Like he had what he had, but she said that she was gonna go get revenge, and he went out on her behalf, and he lost everything because of her. So he guilts her like, how do you get to live this life? My life was fine. I was able to let it go. I told you to let it go. You didn't want to let it go. And you went out there, and I
Now,
went out there on your benefit, and I lost everything. He lost his he got shot in the head. His eye was damn near shot. He got shot in the leg.
and I'm
His leg
sure
was no good.
I'm sure Jacksonville blamed him for Jesse's death too. So
Exactly.
it's like, but do you think that it's weird how Ellie loses Jesse? Ellie, Tommy was crippled. Ellie got her ass beat. Abby almost killed Dana. Do you think it's weird that Ellie goes from I want to kill Abby to I don't want to kill Abby at all anymore? Just
No.
from those events? Like, to me, I
No.
feel like when Jesse died, because, obviously they weren't lovers, but I do feel like they had a connection. They had a friendship.
Right.
So I do feel like that would have pushed her more towards wanting to go after Abby.
She got the girl. She got the girl. At that time, it's like holding your eggs. You have your eggs. You all right. You know what? We went to the mountaintop. We did a hell of a lot, and it's bad. But I can come out of this in some form or fashion. I can come out on the right side of this at some point in time. And she did. For a second, she did. For a brief second. How many times in our lives, for a brief second, we can take that breath and we're happy? She took that breath. She was happy. She was there. Then along comes a spider.
I just feel like if she was truly content and truly
wasn't
happy,
No.
then I don't think anything. If she had the mentality that I'm good, I have moved on, I'm no longer wanting on that revenge scheme, then I don't think Tommy could have talked her into it. I think that Dana kept her there, but Tommy pushed her over the edge to wanting to finish what she started. Because that's the only thing that makes sense to me.
Yeah, well, I mean, it does make sense, but he did guilt her into that point. If me and you go out, right, and you say, yo, King, I'm gonna go take care of these dudes, and you go out there, and I'm like, man, I'm not gonna let this dude go alone. And then I go out there and I get tore up. I get tore up, and there's nothing wrong with you. You go back to live your life, and then I come to you and I'm like, yo, Addict, man, I was out there on your behest, man. We gotta finish this job, man. My leg all shot up, my head all beat up, my body all tore up. Me and my wife is all messed up, man. We gotta go and but I'm gonna go handle mine because you don't want to handle yours. But I went out there for you. At some point in time, ain't guilt gonna run in on you? Like, yeah, this dude.
I mean, I guess we don't know how many times he's done that. He could have done that multiple times. They did say that he's been there multiple times.
Exactly.
So I mean, I guess I'll give you that. I'll give you that argument. I personally feel like there's some loopholes there, but that's just me. You can get it.
No, I can't. I'm wearing my shape.
We got a $5 super chat from Everborn Saga. My biggest issue with the experience of this story was that they didn't give us players the decision to let Abby go or not. Hold on to that, Everborn. We're about to get into that.
Boy,
I do want to get into that. That is going to be pretty much the last thing we do. Now, the next thing I want to talk about, I want to move away from the Joel's death because I do understand your point. Without Joel dying, there wouldn't have been there wouldn't have been a game that was. I think it was a cop out personally. I think it was the quickest and the most efficient way that they can do it. I think there was better ways to write that story, but to me, it's not my place to tell them how to write their story. That's just my criticism to the story. Now let's talk about the pacing of the story. Okay, for the game went, you had your prologue where Joe, where Abby killed Joe, and then you had 3 days, Seattle 1, 2, and 3, where you played as Ellie. Then you had Seattle 1, 2, and 3, where you played as Abby, and then they had the last bit where you fight Abby as Ellie. Now,
Mhm.
first question I want to ask you is this the way that you would have liked? Do you think this part, how they paced it with the Seattle, they make you play as one character then another character? Do you think this was smart, or do you think they could have done this one different?
Nobody ever wants to switch off. People don't like change, right? And to for story-driven games of this magnitude, because it's a semi-open world, uh, depending on your play style and your pacing, you dictate the pace of the game. I know people that finished it a whole lot faster than I finished it. I know people that's still playing the game and they play at a slower pace of the game. But when they giving you characters and they're trying to have you learn these characters and understand their motivations, the pacing is really totally up to you. Like you don't look for everything in the game. Like you don't try to max out every weapon. Kind of keen in on your thing. You kind of keen in
Yeah,
on the
what's
story.
cool, what's funny is
Yeah.
Abby, the hunting gun she had.
Hmm.
When you put a scope on that and you max out that damage,
It's
you could
crazy.
scope people out. They couldn't even come close to me.
Yeah. So
A lot of people in the chat, said that they had a problem with Abby having the better guns. I don't
it's the
necessarily think
military.
Abby had the better guns. I thought Ellie was a better character in general in combat because Ellie had a knife and you didn't have to do shit with the clickers.
Thank you. You understand? They really are completely two different characters. Even
Abby
when you
has the
back up and
more
move them
upfront,
around,
I'm going to shoot people guns, and Ellie has the more, I'm going to shoot you if I have to, but I'm going to use this knife and try to take as many of you as I can.
exactly, completely a little bit more stealth when it goes around to it. But have you ever moved the characters around in a space separately to see how they move?
Yeah,
Ellie
definitely.
is so
Ellie moves way
agile.
more on the top part of her legs, and Abby just moves like
Right.
she's walking.
Yeah, she's agile. Like she can move out of the way of a dodge of a clicker and stuff like that. She's a little bit more agile than Abby, and I think that reflects that how many times
Iron Mike said.
Abby got caught in the game.
Iron Mike says Abby is Joe and Ellie is Ellie. So he's pretty much saying they took the kind of
Hmm.
playstyle that Joe had. I'd agree with that. I think that's
Yeah,
actually a pretty safe playstyle.
that's true. But also, she plays true, and her guns are true to her military upbringing. Remember, she comes from the Fireflies and then she goes into the Wolves. So at that time, she the guns that she's using, the stuff that she's using, the combat styles that she's using, she's forming a shiv. She's doing these things.
And I think I think they did that on purpose to. First off, I think they wanted to have like an Easter egg from the first one. I remember these shivs. I remember making these. Like I
Hmm.
think they wanted stuff like that. And I do think that they wanted their play styles to be different. I personally felt like you know, besides the big people, you could play Abby exactly how you play Ellie, and there's no real differences. There was a couple enemies since you didn't have the knife, you couldn't just come up and sneak on them. And I will give you that is probably the way that they wanted you to shoot them big people unless you had a shiv. They didn't want you to walk up on them and stuff.
Exactly. Well, those dudes is crazy. Like, oh, what about when the
People
game
with the
turns into
sledgehammers.
Resident Evil, and Abby's fighting this big monstrosity of a juggernaut down inside the
Oh, you had no
catacomb
no weapons.
of the hospital?
And
Yes.
didn't you notice that it's been? I was sitting there fighting this dude because it was a long fight. It was a
Yeah, it was
couple of
really good.
minutes, and I'm
Yeah.
sitting there thinking that chick and her kid have been sitting there for a minute. They've definitely like got their head back in their mind back in their head, and I'm like, aren't you gonna help me? Like, I'm sitting here like this dude is like 4 times the size of me. Like,
Out of control.
and you know what, King? I
It
think those are the
changed.
best parts of the game.
Yeah, I thought Abby's instances of the game was more thought out as far as I don't know. It's just I really like the character. So I'm going to say that part because I really at the end of the game I hated Ellie. By the end of the game, I wanted her dead. So,
So when exactly did you want her dead when you fought her as Abby?
oh God, I let Abby.
Because
I
I thought
let
that was
Ellie.
a really interesting way they did that is where you're Abby fighting Ellie, and you see Ellie like leaning down, doing her
Mhm.
stealth stuff, and I'm like, I know how you fight, chick. I'm not gonna let you out of my sight.
Oh yeah, you talking about when she's putting little bombs around?
Yeah.
Yeah. Eh, Um, I at that point in time, I was sympathizing. Didn't make the complete turnover to Abby at that point in time. I was caring about Abby at that point in time when she was trying to get Ellie, or after she shot Jesse in the face and wanted to hunt him down, hunt her down. Um, I was making my transition because I saw the selflessness of the character. And she made that one mistake of allowing revenge to change her heart because her heart was so beautiful. That's the same heart that her father had in, saving zebras and going to the zoo. And she changed as a character. And in changing as a character, she changed how her friends and everybody viewed her. Mel said like one of the most hurtful things to her, that she's a f up and she f's up everything around her and she destroys people around her. And for someone to hear that, and that's not their intent, I think that goes a little bit further in changing how she interacts with other characters in the game, like as far as Liv and as far as Yara, um and her willingness to help. Because remember, at the heart of it all, she's a firefly.
Yeah,
And
she. Cause I thought it was cool at the end how, she. It looked like the Fireflies are done, but she found one of their outposts and she found out that they're coming back together.
that's when I cried.
Yeah. So the biggest issue people have obviously is you play a lot of this game as Ellie, as Abby, and do you think that people? Let me ask you a question. Your personal opinion. Do you think people didn't like playing as Abby because she was a bad character? Or they didn't like playing Abby because she killed Joel.
They didn't want to play as Abby because of how the lead up to the story was presented to everyone. The lead up to the story presented to everyone, let's call a spade a spade. You saw Ellie like tell Joel that she was going to go do something and she was walking away from Joel, right? So when you saw that, you thought that Joel would be alive. So they gave y'all a false sense of security and they killed you, and you're like, "What the hell?
And
That
that was
wasn't in
low
the
key
lead
some
up."
false marketing, but we won't
Exactly.
get into that.
Let's talk
that's
about
that's for an
that.
IOP talk. That's not
And
for a
so
spoilercast talk.
that level of the marketing misled you and made you upset. And then you have Ellie, and Ellie turns out to be this weirdo douche of a
So
character.
Nova is saying something I think you'll like. He said, "When Abby let Dana and Ellie live, I was completely invested in her character. When Ellie left her family and held leave at knife point, I was done with Ellie.
You know why?
That
Let
did
me
kind of seem a little bit out of her character, just a little bit.
no, I did. It wasn't out of her character because she's a douche.
I just don't feel like how you can go from
Ellie's a
having the
douche.
knife to Lex's neck to letting her live 10 minutes later."
Listen, Ellie's a douche. All
So
right,
okay,
and Liv.
let's just
Yeah,
go ahead and shift to, the ending, because that's what we're talking about right now. Is in the ending, obviously there was first off the fight between Ellie and Abby was epic. I loved it. That was probably one of my
it was
favorite times
it
in the
was
game.
gut wrenching. It was hard for me.
Yeah,
It was very hard for me.
I love that. That was good. Yeah, because you love Abby. So you was definitely. I don't want to hit Abby.
Yo, you know
Let me
when
ask you a question. Since you really, really like Abby, when you had Abby's head under that water and it looked like you really might kill her.
I was crying with the controller in my hand. Yo, I first of all, I let her kill Ellie like 15 times. I, I said, I let her kill her like 15 times. I let Abby kill Ellie like 15 times. the game forced me to do something that I was completely uncomfortable with, and I seen her, and the choking became a little bit easier, and the bubbles, and I'm shaking, and tears is coming out of my eyes, and I'm like, what the f is going on here? Like,
And I do
are
agree,
you?
but the biggest question is a lot of people have the issue because I one of the super chats just came up is from Stitch. He says why revenge is okay for Abby but not Ellie. Just hold on to that thought for 5 seconds, Stitch. I want to go back to the previous super chat because they kind of go hand in hand. Where Everborn Saga said, my biggest issue with the experience of this story was they didn't let us, as a player, have the decision to let Abby live or die. Would you have preferred that? Would you have preferred them to,
No,
even if one side is canon and one side it is not? I personally feel like if you're not going to have two different games for whatever the next sequel is, you need to have one ending because
yeah,
it kind of makes no sense to have two options when you know for a fact you're only going to have abide to one of them. So, the
exactly.
question I have to you is, is it okay for a revenge plot with Abby? But why is it not with Ellie? Because you have been like kind of hinting that he's a douche, that Ellie's a douche, and Abby, she's justified for what she's doing. And my second question is, should we have gave them, should Naughty Dog have gave the players the ability to choose between killing her and not killing her?
No, that's not you don't give them the ability to choose. You force them into that position of a uncomfortable spot. You put them in that position that I was in, that it was completely uncomfortable. But I say this in saying that you had to see the ending that everybody lost. Joel lost his life. Abby lost her muscles.
That's
Oh,
not okay. We can't
and
act like
more.
that's a loss. Okay.
And no, but and more and more. I'm going to get. I have to make light of it right now because my heart is heavy, even as a game. Um, Ellie lost everything. She had the girl of her dreams there. They had a baby with no baby daddy to show up and bother, and they have a farm. They had a whole life, and she came back, and all her stuff was in a room. Everything's gone, and all her stuff is in a room.
You know what really got me? Maybe because you felt really emotional when it comes to stuff with Abby. I felt it with Ellie. Like, you came back
How did you feel?
and when she I kind of teared up a little bit when she tried to play that guitar and she couldn't play it
And she
anymore.
didn't have the 2 feet.
And she was sitting there and you could tell like she left that guitar there and they didn't show from her perspective that time. It was like she left that anger with that guitar because at the end of the day she lost everything and she can't even play the thing that calms her down anymore. And when she's walking in the field in the ball and you only see the top of the guitar, I was like, damn. Like,
No, she
I will give Neil that particular shot
listen, you
was
gotta give
epic.
Neil
I'm not giving Neil everything. It's not happening. It's
everything.
not
You
happening.
gotta give Neil everything.
Not happening.
Okay, you gotta give Neil everything. How many times did Owen and Abby sleep and she had those nightmares? She was tortured, absolutely tortured. Why are we glossing over the sexual encounter with Abby and Owen? Why did we just walk past the most visceral sex scene that I've seen in a video? This game deserves an R rating.
It was pretty detailed.
It
Like
was
it definitely
graphic.
was
It was
detailed. It
visceral.
kind of
It
caught me
was,
off guard, to be honest with you. I
it
didn't
was
expect it to be like that.
boy. I thought it was gonna be the whole hum. No, Mr. Druckmann, the genius,
You
went
can't
there.
need to stop with this genius thing,
No, but he
man.
went there with everything. We're glossing over the range of emotions that this game had you feeling. How you not gonna feel for Abby? And she got hers off, and then told the dude, "You got your priorities mixed up," because she loves this guy, and she's like, you better choose your baby mama. You got your priorities messed up. Let me go handle my business, even though that part hurt. And you don't think she didn't want to kill Dina when Dina was on the phone where her love is dead? And the only thing that stops that is Liv?
I just feel like, from a standpoint, we won't go too much into that rabbit hole, that, there was just inconsistency when it comes to stuff like that. Obviously, you feel a different way, and I understand your philosophy. Well, I think at the end of the day, King, you know what I think the issue between me and you with this game is?
What?
Is I thought Abby was cool, but Ellie was that chick, and you thought Ellie was was not cool, and Abby was that chick. And I think that's the issue here, because every issue I have degrades Ellie, and every issue you didn't have that I have that you don't have is because of how they portrayed Abby, and you liked Abby, and I hated Abby. I can't say I hated her. I understood where she was coming from, but I don't think...
I hate the person that has it all and throws it away for nothing and ends up with nothing. Don't complain with your little 2 fingers missing.
I mean, maybe
no more.
maybe they were foreshadowing that she felt like maybe if she finished this, that it would help her mental state, because that's what she was having, the PTSD.
I'm so happy that she went to go finish it, and it was Joel at peace playing his guitar. Because see, what Joel's story was, his story and his whole motivation was to get this girl to the Fireflies and to save mankind. And when he found out that they were going to kill her, he made a distinct choice. That choice came back to kill him. But at the end of the day, he was even more tore up because he lied to Ellie, and he told Ellie that the cure wasn't real, it was all a hoax, and that her life wouldn't amount to anything. And Ellie was willing to die for her life to amount to something. They had a problem because of his lies and his deceit and his treachery. He dies because his lies, his deceit, and his treachery. They don't get a chance to make it right. And there is where the story starts. And then you get to understand the psychosis of a character who loses everything. Abby is the most tragic character in that damn game, because every twist and turn, she has a noose around her neck. She hung up and strung up someplace else. Always. Never getting that prize. Every time the prize is there, it's yanked from her. And all she wants to do is, at the end, is just take Liv and just leave. And just leave. She doesn't want no more of it. She didn't even want to fight Ellie. So who was the real douche at the end that had it, let Tommy talk her ass into leaving, and her girl told her, come back to bed? How many times has your girl told you to come back to bed and your ass is in a jail cell looking up like, I should have listened to my girl?
Look,
she's a douche.
Yeah, I get that, but at the same...
2 fingers gone. Douche.
At the same time, obviously we don't know everything about Abby growing up. How many times, like, she had it seemed like she had it made there too. And she took all her friends to go kill a man that, she knew what would happen. She knew that he killed them to save Ellie. So can you really attack Ellie for doing that, but you can't attack Abby for doing that?
I attacked Abby. She lost everything. She lost all her friends. She lost Owen. She lost her love. She jumped off of that thing. She was scared to death on that the Ferris wheel. She was scared to death. She jumped down there looking for him. She knew where he was. She knew him. That was her love of her life. She had to watch the love of her life have somebody else pregnant. And she told her, she thought that she wasn't going with him to Seattle. She said, yeah, I'm going, but you ain't. I'm not going if you going.
I get that. You know, I feel like when it comes to stuff like that's just going to be up for debate. Up for
What
it's
about Nora?
subjective.
Nora felt the same way. They all felt the same way after she did what she did.
Well,
Remember, a lot of these dudes is former Fireflies that are not down with Isaac's plan. And Isaac, you can see, is the ultimate scumbag because Isaac does not care for his people at all.
yeah, he didn't even really try to act like he didn't respect and the way they acted. Like Abby was one of their best fighters, one of their best
She was
people,
the best killer.
and like when she said,
You saw
"Yo,
the
don't
heart?
kill these people. There's just a woman and a child." Isaac should have respected that and at least took them prisoner or something. You know what I'm saying? He's like,
Hell
"No,
no.
no, you gonna move aside and we're gonna kill them. We're gonna deal with you later." That's literally what he said. Like, you know,
But you knew who he was when he tortured their so-called Messiah and made a martyr out of her. And he did it on purpose and he had glee with it. I knew the level of individual that I was dealing with where he can commit atrocities and eat afterwards. See, this is where the genius of
hold on.
Neil Druckmann comes
Oh
in.
my, okay. After the genius thing, we got another super chat.
Okay.
Stitch with the $5 super chat. Joe died because that beast beat him with a golf club. I am glad she lost everything.
Yeah. And there goes Neil again. You see, when he was being beat to the floor, you thought it was a chance that he was gonna get out of it. You thought it was a chance that somebody was gonna kick in the door. You thought there was a chance that Jacksonville was gonna show up in full force and stop this brutality. He died. Finished. They went to his house and looked over his cold things. I was so happy when he was finished, when he was done, when his story was over, because his story overshadowed Ellie's story. Because you always knew that he was going to come to her rescue. And this is where Ellie had to stand on her own 2 feet. 10 toes in the dirt. You was going to see what she was made of. And she went out on her own. And she got some help by Jesse, dead. By Dina, useless. But she still went out on her own. And she learned that from Joel. So without Joel's death, you will never know how strong Ellie truly was.
And I get that. Okay, so you know, obviously, you know, those are perspectives when it comes to these particular characters. Now let's talk about the game as a whole real quick. You know, obviously we talked about the pacing, we talked about how they did the overall game.
You played an old game before you played this game? Like I played it a couple of days before.
The first one?
Yes.
I played it like 2 months.
Okay. Did you remember the feel of the game?
Yes.
Wasn't it kind of robotic?
It was kind of crazy if you think about it, because it kind of felt similar but not similar at the same time.
Yes.
You know, I think that was their intentions. But you know, as far as the story, let's rate this game from everything. Okay,
I'm gonna give the story a 10.
10 out of 10. The story. I'm gonna give the story a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, because you ain't get the story that you want.
Well, I don't like this. All right, man. Okay, let's talk from the standpoint of gameplay.
Girl left with 2 fingers. I'm sorry.
No, my chick couldn't play her guitar at the end, King. I wasn't feeling that. Like,
yo, did you wait? Did you see how funny it was when you tried to play the guitar and it was like,
dude, when it was going on,
I thought it was me.
When it was going on, I was like, that didn't sound right.
I said, yo, it's off. That's what's going on.
I was like, yo, fam, I don't play guitar, but that did not sound like a guitar.
It sounded crazy. And I was like, yo, Neil is on one right here, baby.
All right. So let's move on. Let's go to gameplay.
Right.
What do you give the
gameplay? Outstanding. I got to give that a 10. Coming from the first game, right? So we're going to talk about the evolution from the first game because we're going to compare it to the first game. We're not comparing it to something else. We're going to compare it to the ace in the genre, which I consider The Last of Us one of the aces in that genre, right? And for them to do that bottle toss that I didn't think that they can get it off, and they showed it in the vertical slice when you was able to run, grab the bottle, toss the bottle. I mean, it's a little bit more clunky when you get into actual gameplay doing it, but the gist of it is completely there. Crafting weapons, the physics engine, you can't understate the physics engine alone, because you're able to bust windows out and take the rope and do things you're not supposed to do with it. um I thought the foliage was beautiful, the use of cover, the use of verticality in the game, the underwater elements of the game. It took the first game and it went. So if the first game to me was a 7 or 8, it definitely bumped it all the way up to, you got to say, a 9 plus or close to a 10, if not a 10. It's just a little bit of clunkiness to it, like in the menus and stuff like that. But I have to say the gameplay was top notch. It was
I
top
have
notch.
to give it a 9 to 10 out of 10. It was definitely some of the best gameplay I've played in a long time.
Yeah,
All right, so
graphics.
obviously, I didn't even think we need to bring the graphics up. That is a 10 out of 10.
Well, I would say I would have to give the graphics a 6 because it was
A
checkerboard. No, I'm joking.
six.
I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking.
No, here, now someone clipped that. He said it was a 6.
It's a joke. I felt that the use of a great storyteller with the graphics, and not needing to be at a certain higher fidelity, working within your parameters and giving you exactly what they're able to give you from these parameters was definitely fantastic. Hold on one second. I got to take this phone call.
Okay, so while King's taking this phone call, what we're gonna do is we're about to end this. So I see that we have 50 likes. So I'm gonna give a question for every 10. So we're gonna answer 5 questions real quick. I can't answer every question here, so I'm gonna answer the good ones that I think is actually going to be an engaging
Now
conversation.
you're gonna choose. That is a good question. That's a good.
Yeah, I'm going to give them. So you guys go ahead and put some questions in there for me and King.
And you don't have to super chat them. Just
Yeah,
just
it's
put 'em
just
in there.
go ahead and do 5 of them real quick before we head out of here. But one thing I want to say, King, is regardless how people feel about this game, regardless how people feel about the
We didn't
champ.
even talk about the transphobia stuff of the characters. We didn't even delve. I mean, I came 100% prepared to talk about the whole
What do you want to talk about? What do
psychology
you
of
want to
Liv.
talk about?
I mean, we had to see the 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 trauma that Liv had to go through with being ostracized from her community, and being shunned, and the only person that was in a corner was her sister, for her sister to die, for her to have to kill her mother, and the only person that she can depend on is Abby, and Abby understands that. Like,
Okay, so we talked about it, so we can move on now, right?
this guy here, man, because it has
No,
nothing
okay,
to do with
okay,
Abby.
I'll bring that up real quick since you want to bring that. I didn't know you want to talk about that. Oh, look,
No, man, it's because this game is not.
okay,
It's
okay.
not a regular game.
It's okay, King.
It's not a regular
I
game.
actually really appreciated the scars because it felt like a completely different world. It
Yes.
was they didn't use technology for the most part. They built giant skyscrapers. They were even smarter in a lot of aspects than the wolves were. So
Because the wolves didn't they use military strategic things, and what the scars did was they saw what they were given and they used what they were given. They used what the land gave them. And isn't isn't that exactly how society would break down? You would get a military aspect, you would get a holistic aspect, and you would get a Ravengers. Those people that was stealing people, those what was they called? It was called the Slitherers, what was this, the Slashers or something like that. The one that actually caught Abby and them at the end and had those people in the prison camp picking cotton and all this other stuff
I
at
can't
the
remember
end.
who those were.
Yeah, there was like the slitherers or the snakes or something weird. And those, your society will break
Radlers.
down. Yeah, they will break down into those three different type of types: military, holistic, and lawless. And you saw those different type of societies in full effect and what they did to the people. Now, the people in the military zone had a military aspect. Everything looked like it was top notch on the surface, and everybody believes that they're right. Okay, but there's flaws in each and every society. And when they had the holistic aspect of it, they had them shaving their heads, they having them scarring their faces, and those people look completely weird to the wolves, and the wolves look completely weird to them. And nobody agreed with the little Slytherin dudes that was over there with what they were doing, because they was actually capturing people and forcing them to work in indentured servitude. And then if they tried to leave, they killed them. So I love how he showed the underbelly of humanity at the end. Instead of us all banding together and becoming one unit and trying to figure out how to change this and how to fix the world, all we did was just separate into little groups and form our own ideologies and continue to act as warring entities against each other instead of attacking the problem. And that is society as a whole. So I think he encompassed that in the game, which was magnificent to me, because at this point in time everybody needs to come together, but they couldn't come together even in the sight of a deadly foe that was destroying humanity. It was absolutely nuts to see.
I have to agree with you on a lot of aspects. One of the biggest things that I just really appreciated the atmosphere in Last of Us 2. I thought
Yes.
it was I wouldn't say one of a kind, but it's some of the best atmosphere we had in a long time. So we do have some questions here, King.
Let's get them. Let's get them. Let's get them.
Let's get these. First off, someone wants to know: do you think Abby was attractive?
I love Abby. I love a muscled up chick. So let me do it.
I personally don't think Abby was attractive, but that's just me. Someone asked, do you think there'll be a part 3?
It has to be.
Oh, so you're
You're
convinced there's
gonna get
going to
it.
be a part 3?
You're gonna get it at the later end of the cycle of the PlayStation 5. It's
Part
gonna
of me
take.
feels like they're just going to make something new and just stick to that. Or do you think they might do what they did to Uncharted, where they'll find something new, make that game, and then do that last hurrah with Last of Us and make Last of Us 3 and end it?
Always three big trilogies. You're gonna have some DLC
I
within
can
this.
see that.
You're
I
gonna see
can
what
see that.
happens with Tommy in this stuff over here. You want to know what happened with Abby, and the Fireflies,
And
because she
plus,
gets
you
them
want to
both and
know,
leaves.
you want the
Yeah.
conclusion of Ellie and the cure.
You want to know what happens if Ellie ever gets back to Jacksonville and gets a chance to talk to Dina and confronts that situation. You want to see what happens. It's too many ifs and too much stuff, because remember, she removed herself from that society. So it's a lot of things that they can talk about. There's repercussions to it. Remember, nothing is as minor and as small any longer. So for those little things, you'll be looking to those ties that inside of Last of Us 2, that leans to the ties of The Last of Us 3.
Someone said, "Question: what's the name of the gym Abby worked at?"
You said the gym? Yo, did you see the gym
They
too?
had a
When they
pretty
walked past
crazy.
the gym?
You know what's crazy? They had a gym in that building they fell on
Awesome.
too. Remember you passed that
Yes.
gym in the building that they fell on?
Yes, and I was in there. You saw the treadmill and stuff like that, and the swimming pool.
If you have a question from here on, just put a question mark at the end of it so it's easier for me to figure out, because we have 2 more and I want to get some good ones. Okay, hold it. Dina beat it at least. Did they make Vector? Oh, people coming extra today, man.
You're supposed to.
The
We're
Last
supposed to
of
do
Us
this
3
for a week.
Revenge of Rat King's son. Rat King was that big thing that you fought in as Ellie.
That was crazy.
Okay, someone wants to know, will The Last of Us 2 win Game of the Year?
It better.
It better.
What's a better game?
What happens if Halo Infinite comes out and it's lit?
Not.
Oh, so you think there's 0 chance Halo beats it in Game of the Year?
Yo, bro. Yo, I don't care what they do in Halo. I'm not crying. Well, that's not true, because I did shed a tear when this girl was going crazy in Master Chief's head.
It kind of got me a little bit in Halo 4 when Cortana was on that bridge and she
Yeah.
saved him, and she's like, it's my turn to save you.
Yeah, that did. Yeah, that kind of did it to me too. I'm not gonna say. Listen. The bar is set so high. The bar is set so high that I'm not gonna say Halo Infinite won't come in and do it. Listen, graphically, it could blow it out of the water, and it will. It'll be a next generation game. Don't tell me it's on current generation stuff. Just be quiet. Story wise, it could tie up a lot of things that we want to see. So it's funny how it's only bringing up Halo against this game.
There's gonna be other games, you know.
Yeah, but
Cyberpunk's gonna be out.
Real. It's not really gonna be other games.
What about Final Fantasy VII?
Nah, please throw that in the bushes.
All right, so
a remake can't win Game of the Year, in my opinion. It's already had source. We already talked about that. It already had source material. All they did was come and put a pretty coat on it, and it was pretty ugly before.
You're gonna like this one, kid. You're gonna like this one. Someone asked, "How loud were your PS4s when you were playing this?"
How loud was that?
Yeah, how loud were they? Mine wasn't loud at all.
Now I cleaned the vents because somebody told me, "Yo, if you got a loud PS4 Pro."
One more question, guys. One more question.
And I cleaned the vents on the side, and my dog walked past it. And
no,
like,
two more questions. So when I said that, the likes went up another 10, so we have to ask two more questions. Two more questions, guys. Someone said while I'm waiting for a good question, Halo Reach made me cry. Noble 6 went out in a blaze of glory. I don't think I cried with Halo Reach. Like, I felt like he went out the way he wanted to go out. Like, because he could have went on there and just said, damn them, I ain't dying in this place. But, like, when they try to shoot that, I think it was when they try to shoot the ship that they were leaving in, I can't remember which one it is. They have so many ships these days that's been destroyed and anything. And he's like, no, you go. I got to stop that I got to get you guys out of here. Yeah. I respected that, man. I respected that. All right, so do you think it was realistic? Okay, so someone said, do you think it was realistic that Tommy, Dina, and Ellie made it back to Jackson after getting messed up? So they're pretty much asking, which I see a lot of this game where, Tommy got shot in the back of the head, which we don't know the degree. He could have got grazed. I don't know. And he got hit with the bow that seemed to do more permanent damage because he had a limp. So they want to know, how did he get medical attention after he had those traumas?
Okay, well, to push the narrative forward, Tommy had to still be alive. I thought Tommy was dead.
I did too, because when they did it, I thought they were killing everybody. Like,
yeah, I thought Tommy was dead after she did all that. But live again. Shout out to Liv for saving him again. And Dina wasn't really all that banged up. She had this shoulder, and they are trained medics in combat. All right, so you could ask that same question on how Ellie was able to sew her body up after she was hung upside down and stabbed in the side of her body. They're trained field medics, so these dudes have combat training. And I don't ask me. I thought Tommy was dead. I guess Tommy's going to be a DLC because remember, Tommy went out there as well.
They've already came out openly. I was going to bring that up after you got your thoughts. Someone asked, it was Dan. He said, what do you think DLC for The Last of Us 2 will look like? They already came out, so there's not going to be any DLC for The Last of Us 2.
Yeah, that's a lie.
So, you think it's a lie? You think they'll do a standalone?
You know why it's not going to be any DLC for The Last of Us 2?
Ellie got them a Sinto beam.
Listen, it's going to be a DLC for The Last of Us 2 remake. So technically, there's not going to be any DLC for The Last of Us 2, but it'd be DLC for The Last of Us 2 remake on a paywall behind the PlayStation 5.
I could see that. They potentially 6 months after the game comes out, it's gonna have one of those. All right, so we definitely answered 6 questions. Any last thoughts on the game, King?
I love it.
You love it.
I mean,
look, I think it's a good game, King. I think it's a solid game. I personally like Final Fantasy VII more. I think I enjoyed it. I personally said it was worth $60. I don't give any scores on my reviews, but I did say if I did give it a score like privately to people, it would be an 8 out of 10 to me. And if any of you know me like reviewing things, and 8 is not something that you can get from me very easily. I usually give a lot of games 6s or 7s.
I say this. I say if you don't have a PlayStation, go buy a PlayStation and buy the game. And that's the highest praise I'm going to give a game.
Do you think that it's worth getting a PlayStation so close to the PS5, or should they wait for the PS5 version?
I don't trust them. I I don't trust them because I don't trust their back compat. I don't trust them.
But do you see?
I brought the
Okay,
game
let's say that.
digitally,
Let's say it doesn't
and
have a back compat. Do you honestly think they won't like re-release the game on the PS5?
I think they're gonna do that.
But so
But
you think people should go out and buy this when they could
I
potentially get a 60 frame version on the PS5?
I think right now, if you have a lack of entertainment going on in your life, you have a surplus of cash, and you want to play a damn good game, you can do it. If you can financially do it without breaking a bank, I'm not telling you to go rob a bank to go get the PlayStation to do this and that and the third. I'm telling you, if you have extra cash sitting around and you want to get a PlayStation, or somebody has a PlayStation, you just want to borrow the PlayStation, find your way over to a PlayStation and play this game. Now, if first party, third person, first story driven games aren't your thing, then just stay away from it. But if story driven games is your thing, you owe it to yourself to try it. Even if you're an Xbox head, you know what I mean. First of all, I don't understand that whole Xbox head and PlayStation head thing. You're a gamer, so remove those shackles around your legs because those are invisible
Yeah,
fake
people
shackles
take this
you make for
gaming
yourself.
console stuff a little too seriously.
Yeah. So if you get a chance to go play it, if a friend has it, ask them, yo, let me borrow it or whatever.
I'd have to
Whatever.
agree with you.
out.
If you have a PS4, there's no reason you don't have this game. It's good. It's really really good. It's definitely one of the best experiences you can have on the PS4, and I do think it's worth the money. Like King said, I don't know if it's worth picking up a PS4. Now, it's worth owning a PS4 for, but since we're so close to next gen, I don't know if it's worth buying one right now when you could just wait for the PS5.
Well, look at the launch lineup. Maybe they might have the Last of Us, remake in the launch lineup day to date, with 60 frames a second, actual 4K, and you get that game. I mean, I would buy it again, for that. I did it already. I did it with the PlayStation 3 and the Last of Us, the first one, and I brought it for the PlayStation 4 because they didn't have no back compat situation. So, I have no problem with it. Certain games, and I will buy it physical this time because I brought it digital. I really don't trust Sony, so I will want the game.
Yeah, I definitely don't blame you on that. But anyway, this was our spoiler cast on The Last of Us Part 2, featuring Kingdavid and Lord Addict. We do this for the community. We're usually a little bit less loose with the chat, but because you guys are so good to us week out, week in, we definitely wanted to give back. And plus, King wanted to talk about this game.
Yeah, I was fighting with this dude to talk about this game, and I still didn't get a chance to get all my bars off. So I'm going to do another spoiler cast on this game soon, because I honestly don't think it's, it bothers the hell out of me that only 4 million, dudes went out day and date and cop. It bothers the hell out of me. And maybe it's financial times are right now. So if that's a certain somebody's circumstance, God bless, I understand. But if it's not your circumstance and it's over 130 something million out there, those numbers is very terrible, and the game needs to be experienced. The genius of Neil Druckmann needs to be spread,
Oh my God, genius.
Yeah, I don't care. Neil, man, holla at your boy. I respect your genius. It was a wonderful script. It was a great story, and thank you. I appreciate it.
There you go. King definitely co-signs the game. You can always follow King on Twitter. What's your Twitter handle?
King was wrong. Who said the King was wrong?
People been saying King's wrong all podcasts.
Yeah, well, a lot of you guys are Xbox heads that didn't even play the game, so I'm not listening to you.
All right, so where can people find you, man? Where you got the KOS going on?
Listen, you can find me on Twitter at Kingdavid OTW, and you can actually go right there and say, King, I don't believe you, so I can blast you and tear you down with some memes. Find me on Iron Lord Podcast.
He definitely will get some gifts on your ass.
Yeah, that's right. Will me understood exactly what happened when you come for the King. I had to pull that Beyonce out of the bushes. Yow. And if you go to my timeline, you'll see what I'm talking about. That's my guy, Wilmy Hood. Speaking of that, Saturday at 11:30, Tattoo will be going down. You get a chance to check out that tattoo if you're part of the realm. So I would tell you to make sure that you like, follow, or subscribe, and also become a member. Hit that join button at that bottom, or become a Patreon member, because it's only going to be available for Patreon members and members of the realm to see that video of me getting that tattoo
And
right
keep in
here on my
mind that this is never going public. It's always going to be members. So,
always gonna be
if
behind
you
the
want to
paywall.
see this, you're going to have to join the realm or go on Patreon.
And if I find anyone recording that video and putting that video up, you're getting booted out of the realm. Because we deal with integrity here, people.
Yeah.
So that logo in the back, you see that logo right here, or that logo on my chest right here? It's
Where
gonna
did
be
you get that
literally on my
logo in the
chest.
back?
Huh?
Where'd you get that in the back?
Oh, that I brought it from my Teespring store.
A Teespring? All right, I'm going to have to get one of those and put it on my back too. All right, but this has definitely been a good time. We'll have to do more of these. I guess we probably do one for Halo. I don't know yet.
Yeah, we should.
It just depends on when Halo comes out. So anyway, this is Iron Lords podcast. Definitely come and watch every Sunday at 1 p.m. This week we're gonna have a great guest. I'm not gonna ruin it. That's Cognito's job. Definitely be looking out for that information on Twitter on Friday to Saturday. But we're out of here. Peace.
Catch y'all later.
I got.
Oh, give them the whatchamacallit.
Hi, I'm Lord Kingdavid of Iron Lords Podcast. And we're bringing to you an exciting new giveaway. This giveaway is like none other. We'll be giving away an Xbox Series X. That's right, you heard me right. The brand new console launching from Microsoft this year. Well, this is how you're able to be part of that giveaway. There's 2 ways to get your name thrown in the hat for the raffle. 1, become a member of the realm. That's hit that join button, hit that join button. You hit that join button down at the bottom and you can become a member. And also, another way is by becoming a Patreon member. So you can be part of the realm as well. Now, this is brought to you by Cat Daddy Fat Stacks, a member and lord of the realm. A very generous person that's in our community. And this community is beautiful. So remember, you can have 1 entry by hitting that join button and becoming a member of the realm. And also, you can have another entry by being a Patreon. Now, you said, King, what if I'm a member of both? Well, your name gets thrown in the hat 2 times. So please, like, follow, and subscribe. Join, or become a Patreon member, or become both. And your name is in the hat to get that Xbox Series X. That's the Who Did That For You sweepstakes. This is wonderful. This is something that I'm sure that you will enjoy. Oh man, have a